We are only 2 days away from one of the most significant days on the American calendar every year. Yes, in just over 48 hours, the Lombardi Trophy will once again be handed to the best football team on the planet. Countless pizzas and chicken wings will be devoured, many, many beers will be drank, and millions of football fans will complain about Jim Nantz fawning over Taylor Swift during the course of the game. I want to watch the game, not the sweets, Jim. Anyway, this particular Super Bowl carries even more passion than normal in central Iowa, with many of Iowa State's loyal fans cheering for the 49ers to win as they hope former Cyclone Brock Purdy can claim the title and potentially a Super Bowl MVP after he got snubbed for the regular season MVP in favor of Lamar Jackson. Opposed to these 49ers fans here in Ames, we have folks like myself, who have been loyal Chiefs fans for years, and we won't abandon our team, even though we do still love Brock. So my hope for the game, a high-scoring Chiefs victory where Brock still has a good game for San Francisco, and Travis Kelce stays relatively quiet so the cameras stay on the gridiron and not on whichever booth Swift is in. Today is Friday, February 9th. I'm Matt Menson, and welcome to the Cornfield Sports Pod. As always, we got Blake, and with us today we've got our producer, Vinny Cataldo. Since we're going remote today, studio was unavailable, and we got an awful lot to talk about today. Super Bowl is the big headliner. We have to start there. But Blake, what's your initial thoughts here with the Super Bowl? First thing that comes to mind.
Super Bowl needs to be a national holiday. I think that's common knowledge right there. But honestly, I'm very much into this matchup.
Yeah. Super Bowl, absolutely. I agree. It should be a national holiday. I don't know why it's not. The real debate is whether the day after should be a national hangover holiday.
National hangover.
That's what I kind of agree with. I would agree that the next day should, because the amount of drinking, the amount of eating people do, they feel like crap the next day. So they literally have to be able to,
The other option is you could move the Super Bowl to a Saturday.
Nah, I kind of like it on a Sunday.
I mean, it's always been Super Bowl Sunday, so it makes the most sense.
Exactly.
Yep. I don't know. I'm still of the opinion that from between game one and the final game of the World Series, that should all be one giant holiday. We should all get work off for that and just have a never-ending World Series. Well, not never-ending, but just a days-long World Series party. But that idea doesn't seem to be catching any traction.
A little biased, but not a lot.
Only a little bit. My idea doesn't seem to be getting any traction, though. I don't know. What about you, Vinny? First thoughts on the Super Bowl here?
I'm excited for it. We got a rematch from 2020. We got a whole new set of teams. So it'll be interesting to see.
Whole new?
Well, in terms of San Francisco, I mean, they didn't have Purdy when they first played against the Chiefs in 2020, so it's gonna be an interesting game. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to point out, and I saw this reported a couple other places, but some coincidences from 4 years ago, it was these two teams in the Super Bowl, and the
I saw
Chiefs
that
won
exact same thing.
The Chiefs played and beat the 49ers 31-20 4 years ago. Also 4 years ago, it was also a leap year. That happens every 4 years. And it was also a presidential election year, which happens every 4 years. But it was also Trump and Biden. That's just kind of wild, the coincidences. Some things change, but man, do they stay the same.
We can't also forget what happened in 2020.
Yeah, there was lots of other things that happened in 2020.
Yep.
But this is a sports podcast, so we're gonna leave those alone.
Yeah, we'll leave that alone. But this time around, let's just see how Purdy does against Mahomes.
Yeah. Not everything's the same this time. I mean, back then the Chiefs were a lovable underdog that had not earned a dynasty title yet, and now they are certainly embracing that villain role as people are getting tired of seeing them and want to see somebody else.
Yeah, they definitely saw that with the Patriots and Tom Brady, and just anywhere like Tom Brady went, like I was definitely one of them. Like it was around that time where I didn't care that the Chiefs won. I just wanted Tom Brady to lose.
Well, that's because you embrace that role for every team except your own team.
Yeah,
it's like
imagine being a Cowboy fan who got to see Tom Brady's final game, which was a loss to the Cowboys.
Imagine being a Cowboy fan where half of the Cowboy fans alive haven't seen their team make it to the NFC Championship game.
Matt, remind them my team.
Yeah, he's a Broncos fan. Hey, Vinny.
Well,
he's seen his team win multiple Super Bowls in the time that you've been alive.
Well, only one.
Is it only one? I thought they had 2 in that Peyton Manning run.
Peyton Manning.
Was it just the one?
Peyton Manning won his last one, and then it was Broncos versus Seahawks for another one.
Right.
They won.
That's my current.
Yes, that's right. Peyton's got two Super Bowls total. One at the Colts, one at the Broncos.
Yep. 1997, 1998, and 2015 were the Broncos years.
Yeah, well, so Manning wasn't at the Broncos in the 90s. He was a rookie at the Colts in 98, if I'm not mistaken.
He would have been young too in 98. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah. But anyway, Blake, the spread on this one, San Francisco -1.5. What's your take on it?
It just might come down to that, but it's really up in the air for me, because this can either be a blowout win for the Chiefs, the way I'm seeing it, or Purdy's going to keep it really close. But if Purdy can get the team to win, then it's not going to be by much. So I'm very much 50-50 on this.
Well, you got to pick one team to cover. Who are you picking? Who covers?
I'm going to go with Chiefs.
All right, Vinny?
I'm going to say the Chiefs, too.
You know me. I'm not going to pick anybody other than the Chiefs for this one.
Yeah, because you're wearing a Chiefs outfit right now.
Yes, I am. But I mean, my explanation behind it, aside from just being a slightly delusional Chiefs fan, I think that both of these teams are going to come out guns a-blazing. I think that for both teams, the offense is better than the opposing defense. Both teams have good defenses, but I think that these are two of the best offensive talents in the NFL. So I think that this is going to end up being a relatively higher scoring game. I think that the over is set to 47.5 right now. Last I looked, I think that the over is definitely going to hit. But when a high scoring game happens, the difference tends to be exaggerated a little bit more. The proportion of points might be the same as a lower scoring game, but that increases the spread on the points. I think the Chiefs are going to win it, and I don't think it's going to come down to a last-second field goal. So I got to say Chiefs cover on this one.
Yep. And this was the Super Bowl that we definitely should have gotten last year. And this year, Brock Purdy got just what he deserved. What he deserved from last year into this year. So I'm very happy with this matchup.
Well, I was going to say, because last year, the 49ers, pretty much the only reason they didn't make it was because Brock Purdy got injured against the Eagles, and so the Eagles ended up advancing instead. And the 49ers last year were a better team than the Eagles, in my opinion. But, they broke Brock Purdy last year, and this year Brock Purdy broke the Eagles. Once the 49ers got that win over Philadelphia, Philly's season crashed and burned all the way through the wild card round, where it then proceeded to meet its demise. So, but The game will be at 5:30 Central Time, CBS.
CBS does it best.
They do. They're, Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, great announcing team. CBS is also broadcasting this on Nickelodeon as well, with Ian Eagle doing play-by-play on that one, and then they have.
Ooh, I didn't know Ian Eagle was doing that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna be watching the regular CBS broadcast because.
But can we just agree that Nickelodeon is doing one of the greatest things ever?
Yes.
They are going to have the opening, the Sweet Victory from SpongeBob.
Mm-hmm.
We were robbed from it freaking 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was 5. I think it was 5 years ago.
It had to have been. It's been like so long, but we're finally getting the redemption that we need.
Nah, this is redemption, honestly.
It is.
And I kind of want to tune into that before I watch the real thing on CBS.
I don't know. I'm gonna go with the true adult football fan and just stick with the CBS broadcast from the beginning of the pregame show to the end of the postgame and the trophy ceremonies and all of that. Every time. I shouldn't say every time because the Chiefs did lose that one Super Bowl to Brady and the Bucks, but the Chiefs have been consistent when I've been, watching it start to finish, beginning of pregame to the end of the postgame. We're not changing it now, so I will make sure I have chips and something to dip them in, probably some salsa, because I gotta have that. So, but yeah, Chiefs Kingdom reigns for at a minimum the next 2 days, and hopefully the next entire year. That's my final thought on the Super Bowl here.
Mm-hmm.
But we got lots of stuff to get to on today's episode here. Let's talk some Cyclone basketball. In the last week here, last Saturday, lost at Baylor on a buzzer beater that did not get off in time.
One of the wildest games I have ever watched.
That game was bizarre, and we had no business being in it.
Nah, absolutely none. I said it was contender for the most Iowa State way to lose.
It was.
Looking at our football, looking at some of our football ways to lose.
It was a very chaotic game, but just a series of details about this game here. Baylor had a massive lead at one point in this game. We had way too many missed free throws. We went dry from the floor for about the last 7 minutes. That same time span in the second half, our defense turned from defense into basically just fouling, which resulted in Baylor missing the front end of 2 1-and-1s, which was the only reason we were able to stay in it in the first place. They gave up about 4 points there. And even after all of that, we were still about 0.1 seconds away from claiming a victory because Milan Momcilovic banked that buzzer shot, but he did not get it off. So
at that point, I was laughing so hard of how bad we played that game. But as soon as I heard the entire Baylor fan base cheer after that shot, I was like,
I don't know. We had no business even being in that game. The end result of that game made it look a lot better for us than it actually was.
Oh yeah.
So I'll take it for what it's worth.
But for the third game in a row at this point, Baylor head coach Scott Drew was teed up.
Well, it wasn't his third game in a row getting teed up.
Yeah, I was gonna explain that because that sounded out of context. But it was.
It was the third game. It was the third game in a row for opposing coach against Iowa State to get teed up.
Yes. But Scott Drew actually ended up getting ejected for crossing the coach's box.
Right, which I was actually glad to see official actually enforce that rule for once, because most of the time that rule is just outright ignored.
Milwaukee.
Yeah, she's one of them.
Yeah, where is that?
She might be the most egregious example.
Dude, like, I don't know how many times she's crossed that line, but I'm telling you right now, she's crossed it more than any coach ever. Yet
She
somehow,
spends more time outside of the box than in it.
Oh,
she's
absolutely.
hit other players.
She's hit the ref. She's hit the ref. She's hit the ref, and yet somehow the refs are like, I like your outfit. I'm just gonna let you pass.
Like her outfit?
I love it.
Do they really?
I mean,
that's
I hate the girl, but damn, her outfits are kind of nice.
That's a hot take.
That's
a very hot take.
Her outfit that she wore in the championship against the team out east. I mean,
half the time though she's dressed like grandma's couch.
Okay, that's fair. I'll give you that.
And the other half the time dressed like an ostrich. So.
Yeah.
Yep, an ostrich.
But some of her outfits are not that bad. They're actually pretty cool.
Yeah, every now and then a blind squirrel gets a nut. That's my opinion on that.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of people did say that Scott Drew's reason for getting ejected was kind of ridiculous, but by rule,
they enforced the rule, and Jerome Tang should have been teed up for the exact same thing a couple weeks ago here when they were playing at Iowa State. That it would have been at the time of the game. That would have been Jerome Tang's first technical. So assuming he wouldn't have avoided the second technical that he had later in the game, then he actually would have been ejected as well. Because Jerome Tang, not only did he leave the coaching box, he crossed half court. So
crossed half court when the ref was talking to TJ, because I remember that. Yeah,
which coaches are only allowed to cross half court either if one of their players gets injured. And they need to, coach and medical staff, trainers, et cetera, need to go over and administer to them. And also they are allowed to cross half court at halftime when they're going to the locker room. That is also allowed. Aside from that, that's pretty much it. Coaches cannot just cross half court.
Get to the locker room.
Coaches cannot just cross half court like that.
No.
But enough about K-State, because we've talked about them enough in the last couple of weeks, and there's not really any new developments. Coach Otz's ability to keep his composure, though, is just looking better and better and better, because he hasn't given officials any reason to give him a tech for anything. I mean, he keeps his cool. He doesn't say much. He's staying in the coach's box. I haven't seen him leave it even once. I'm sure he has at some point, but again, it's a rarity that I'm not thinking of any examples. But, he's not making any errors here, while other teams not only are making unnecessary errors, they're making them and getting caught by the officials too. And that's kind of a new thing where the officials are actually enforcing the coaches' rules. And, it's like you said, Blake, a lot of the Baylor fans are mad because he only broke the coaching box rule a little bit. Yeah. But, what good is a rule if you're going to be allowed to break it a little bit? And then how much is a little bit? You have to have some kind of an objective standard. And so the rule itself needs to be that objective standard. So, I mean, kudos to the Big 12 refs for actually doing a good job for once. And then, oddly enough, after this game, when the refs are doing actually a fairly good job by Big 12 standards, it was Baylor athletic director Mac Rhodes had a comment that he got fined $25,000 for comments on the officiating here, Blake. You want to read that off?
Yeah, I can read it off. Just a couple comments on the officiating. I don't normally do this. For those of you that don't know, I'm not somebody who calls the officials or calls the league after every game. I never call when it comes to officiating. It's always about, hey, we need to play better. We need to execute better. We need to play tougher, all those things. But tonight was an embarrassment for this league. Scott said it. We have the best basketball league in the country, and the officiating tonight does not match that. Period. End of story. This league needs to get better when we think about our officiating. And we have some great officials, but this particular crew tonight did not match the level of this game. And that should not happen in this league. And I'm going to fight for our program. I'm going to fight for our school. I'm going to fight for our coaches, and I'm going to fight for our student athletes. For this, he was fined $25,000. Do you think that's a slap in the wrist?
I mean, most games in the Big 12, a statement like that is totally warranted. Most. And this game, ironically, was the exception. So, I don't know. $25,000. It's not like athletic directors are making, tens of millions of dollars. Like, I mean, that's the same kind of fine you would see, if an NBA player makes comments about the officiating, only the NBA player is making orders of magnitude more money. So a slap on the wrist, that's a pretty hard slap if you're an athletic director. But that's about all the statement I have on that. Most games, that's a perfectly accurate statement to make, regardless of whether or not the Big 12 likes it. This game in particular might be the lone exception, at least in terms of men's ball. I guess we had the women's game against Oklahoma State last week that was also officiated really well.
Yeah. Because I think for this game that there were many calls that were obviously in our favor. Baylor didn't like, but you think they were the right calls?
For the most part, yes.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff ended up evening out pretty close to the end of the game, and I think depending on which team was being streaky, I think that made a big difference as to what fouls were occurring and what wasn't. Baylor struggled with fouls when Iowa State was making that comeback attempt, and then at the end when Iowa State was trying to close it out, and they were failing, they were struggling, they started committing a whole lot of fouls. So, which tends to be how that kind of stuff goes. So, that I think that most of those calls were justified exactly as they were, even if some of them were a little bit soft. It was soft both ways, and they were still justifiable calls. They weren't just absolutely ridiculous. But we have a whole other game that we got to talk about here yet before we move on to any of our other teams yet. Win against Texas on Tuesday.
How much of this game did you see? Since it was on the Longhorn Network,
I
was
saw
able to
none
watch
of
it. Okay, I was able to watch it
because the Longhorn Network sucks.
Exactly, but I was able to get Longhorn Network. My hometown cable provider somehow gets Longhorn Network. So
YouTube TV doesn't. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
The existence of Longhorn Network is ridiculous, and I won't be sad to see it disappear when they go to the SEC.
No. But for Longhorn Network, we just have one more showing on Longhorn Network. That'll be for softball. And then after that, we're done. No more.
No more Longhorn Network. Good riddance.
Good riddance. But this game was definitely another showing for Heart Attack Clones, because this game we were leading big at the half. We held Texas to 19 points at the half, and then ended up being a nail-biter towards the end.
Yeah, this game in some sense was the mirror image of that Baylor game, where we had the big lead, we surrendered the big lead, and then we closed it out at the end of the game after nearly giving the whole thing away. Now, not everything was different. The team not called Iowa State still got their coach teed up, which made it 4 in a row.
4 in a row where an opposing coach against us gets teed up.
Mm-hmm. Rodney Terry got teed up. Now, since I wasn't able to see the game, Longhorn Network, Blake, you mind telling us all what that technical was even for?
No. I couldn't really hear what it was for, but at that moment, all I heard was like a did it, like the whistle that there was a technical, like. Then my watch party just shut up for a second. And then all we had to hear was the announcers say Rodney Terry, and then we just all bursted in excitement, because like that made 4 obviously, but we weren't really able to catch like what it was. I don't know if he said something. I don't know if he crossed the coaching line, like, because it definitely wasn't anything like
I haven't seen any clips on Twitter or anything like that, so I'm not really sure either.
because it definitely wasn't on the levels of Kelvin Sampson against Oklahoma State.
Mm-mm. But anyway, that was our first win in Austin since 2015. It'd been a while.
Yeah, and only third in program history.
Yeah. And the Moody Center is a tough place to play for pretty much any opponent. Texas generally does well at home.
Very well. They
tend to struggle on the road, but at home they tend to be a very good team.
Yep.
But not Tuesday night, and the former Cyclone Tyrese Hunter did more favors for his old team than for his current team.
Oh well.
0 for 8 from the field, which means he was basically a walking turnover.
Stop.
That's what he was. That's an accurate assessment.
You are not wrong.
No, I'm not.
You're not wrong. You know ball.
That I do. That's why we do this. That's my job to know ball.
You know. With Rob Jones, he definitely didn't have a good showing, except for one of the dunks he had in a putback dunk he had in the first half, I believe. But besides that's not a good showing. This was definitely
Bob's. Every player has some off games, and that happened to be Bob's off game. So
this was definitely a Taman Lipsy game.
Yep.
Milan Momcilovic too. I think Milan led with 13, and then Taman put more stats like besides points.
Yep. Taman's a great distributor, so.
Oh, very much.
He makes everyone on the floor better.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, upcoming here for the men in the next week, we'll be not at TC. We'll be at home in James H. Hilton Coliseum tomorrow against TCU. And then later in the week, we will be taking a trip to Ohio and playing at Cincinnati.
If you look on ESPN now, it shows the Team Out East logo that they'll be playing Cincinnati.
Someone made a typo.
Someone made a typo, and someone's probably not going to get fired. They're just going to laugh it off.
I was saying, no one's going to get fired, but they're definitely going to get laughed at by their boss. That's for sure. Someone's going to have a good time with it.
Then Team Out East.
Yep. The ladies, they did not have a great last week here. They only had the one game in the last week, and they lost at the worst team in the Big 12.
Really? That's the one you had to lose at? Really?
We're back to we're back to the discussion topic of our team is really young and they play like it.
Yeah. The freshmen especially did not have the best showing, because it was mostly Emily Ryan and Hannah Bellinger. Audie Crooks was a little behind Emily, but this definitely wasn't Audie Crooks' day either.
And that's what happens when you have a young team, because those young players are a lot more inconsistent. They're not always going to have those strong showings, and even when your veterans show up and they do what they can to lead the way, when you have a team that's just that young, if you have that many young players having a down day, you just won't win your game. So that's what happened at Addition Financial Arena down in Orlando.
I think this is what Bill Fendley said back in Women's Cyhawk. Was it something along the lines of, "You better guess now, because the next few years it's going to be tough."
Yeah, once this team's got some more experience, once Addie Brown and Kelsey Jones and Ariana Jackson and Jalen Bristow have a few years under their belt and they're upperclassmen, this is going to be a very good team. It's going to be a very good, very dangerous team.
Not to mention with UCF, this was surprisingly a Cyclone home court advantage. There were more Iowa State people than UCF people. At least what I saw on the ESPN Plus stream.
Yeah, not every school shows out for their ladies like we do out here at Iowa State. So, I mean, we're consistently we've consistently been top 5 in women's basketball attendance. So
it's basketball. It's like, just show out. And there wasn't even a student section; it was just the band.
Yeah, it's a shame. Some of the schools just don't care, but it is what it is. We do our part. We show out to the games here, and Cyclone Nation, they show out as a whole. So, that lower bowl of Hilton Coliseum typically gets pretty full. We don't draw quite the numbers that South Carolina or Iowa are game in, game out. But
Team out east.
Dang, I said it, didn't I? Shoot. Well, we also, in the next week here, we got a couple games, both of them at home. First one's going to be versus Oklahoma.
This will be former Cyclone Aubrey Jones returns to ISU again.
Sibling rivalry between Aubrey and Kelsey.
Recently, we heard that, does Matt forgive Aubrey?
Yes, I forgive Aubrey.
Does Matt forgive Aubrey Jones?
I forgive Aubrey for transferring. And the so the best part of this is, so a while ago, a few of our basketball players did an Instagram live with Aubrey. And at one point during this Instagram live, Aubrey told the other players not to transfer. So hopefully they take Aubrey's advice and we don't have a transfer bug hit like we did last year. So, we can retain some talent out here in Ames. This is the best recruiting class, that the one that just brought in, the one that's got all these freshmen right now. This was the best recruiting class that Fennelly's brought in. If they stay here and develop under him, they're going to be a very good team here in a couple years. So, it's good stuff. But, of course, still got to stoke the sibling rivalry a little bit between Kelsey and Aubrey.
Is Kelsey the better Jones?
Kelsey's the better Jones. So was Ashley. Ashley was the better Jones. Now, I mean, Ashley's,
Ashley's Ashley.
Ashley's graduated now. So, bye-bye, Ashley. Come back and visit Iowa State basketball sometime, please.
But after Oklahoma, we got one against the very dangerous Kansas State.
Yeah.
Women's Farmageddon.
And K-State's a very good team this year. So
yep.
They have a very top. They have a very high ranked team. Not a lot of losses on the year. They're looking like a title contender right now. So.
Oh yeah. So very dangerous.
I would have them in my Final Four right now. So.
Yep. Fortunately, we'll be playing at home for this first showing, and then a couple weeks after that, we'll be on the road against them.
At Brownridge.
Wednesday is also the day that we will see Cupid Psy. You'll see Cupid Psy with his bow and arrows on Valentine's Day.
Interesting. I didn't realize there was a Cupid Psy costume.
He shows up in the Valentine's outfit, and it's iconic every time.
I forgot that this was a thing. Because, it's only a one-time-a-year thing,
Yeah, his arrows are just plungers.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. It's iconic.
Yep. What's so iconic is Psy coming out in the ref costume with glasses on. That's iconic.
Everyone just loves Psy, and he knows the vibe.
Psy's very lovable.
He knows the vibe of every game.
Psy really does. Psy always knows.
Yep.
Psy knows ball.
Psy knows ball.
Not as good as me, but Psy knows ball.
After women's basketball, we got lots of wrestling. Got lots of results for wrestling.
Yes. We had one duel in the last week here. It was a home duel against West Virginia. Results from this one, I'll go bout by bout here. 125, 25th ranked Kyson Terrakina won by decision over Jet Strickenberger. 8th ranked Evan Frost for Iowa State won by tech fall over Mason Mills in 3 minutes and 54 seconds. That's less than a minute into the second period, by the way. That's fast, and that's not even the best one of the night. 141 pounds, 10th ranked Jordan Titus for West Virginia beat Sam Rubovsky in his Iowa State dual debut by major decision. At 149, 10th ranked Casey Swiderski won in an upset against 7th ranked Ty Waters in sudden victory. Now, in this one, Swiderski came back from a 4-0 deficit in the third period, got the takedown, and then rode him out to earn that point, and then followed that up with a takedown and sudden victory, scoring 7 straight points to win the bout 7-4. And on that note, I mean, after a win like this, you look at Swiderski right now, and what an improvement he's made year over year. Last year, he started off hot before he cooled off mid-season, and he struggled a bit at Big 12s, didn't advance very far at NCAAs. This year, it's been much more sustained, looking like a very legitimate top 10 wrestler. He's in a good spot to be competing for a place on the podium at NCAAs next month. I'm really excited to see what he can do. At 157 pounds in the West Virginia duel, 13th ranked Cody Chittum beat Caleb Dowling by major decision. 165 pounds, 2nd ranked David Carr defeat number 8th ranked Peyton Hall. This was David's 6th top 10 victory on the season. With this duel was the first one that I believe was the first one that he was ranked 2nd in the nation and not 3rd or 4th. But that was following his victory in his bout at Oklahoma State. But yeah, 6th top 10 victory on the season, only behind Keegan O'Toole now in the rankings. At 174 pounds, 22nd ranked MJ Gaitan won by fall over 17th ranked Brody Conley in only 38 seconds. That was a major upset win.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
Kevin Dresser's face during that bout, it was like, and then when he won.
Yes, but
that was iconic.
That's the thing, is it looked like Gaitan was in bad position before he got that turn made and got the pin.
Yeah, it definitely looked that way too.
It looked like he was in a tough spot, like he was about to give up a pretty nasty double leg, but he was able to get the headlock and turn, and 39-second or 38-second pin. That's pretty fast.
Yeah,
and
it's like
that's how MJ wins in upsets when he does. MJ Gaitan is a pinner. And that's, he did that. He knew what he was going to have to do to get the upset, and he pulled it off perfectly.
For that full 38 seconds, I was like, stop. He's going to do it.
Yeah.
Kevin Dresser in the background.
Yep. We'll go to 184 pounds here. 30th ranked Dennis Robin for West Virginia defeated Tate Nakaboran in a major decision. This was Tate Nakaboran's debut with Iowa State. He's a freshman out here. At 197 pounds, West Virginia's Austin Cooley defeated 30th ranked Julian Broderson. After this one, Broderson would fall out of the rankings. And then at heavyweight, 3rd ranked Younger Bastida tech-falled Michael Wolfgram. Bastida gave up only his 2nd takedown of the season in this duel. But I wanted to mention before, so I said at 133, Evan Frost beat Mason Mills in a tech fall in 3 minutes and 54 seconds. That's pretty fast. Bastida did it faster. He got his tech fall in 3 minutes and 49 seconds. So that's only 49 seconds into the second period. He finished the tech fall. That's nuts.
In this bout, he just kept finding ways to get takedown.
That he did.
Mm-hmm.
And Frost relied on back points to get his tech fall. He only gave up. Evan Frost only gave up 1 point in that entire one. It was one escape that he allowed, and after that, he got another takedown and just, went at it. So
for Bastida, how many escapes did Bastida give up?
I don't recall. Well, he wasn't giving up escapes. He was letting him get back up.
Well, yeah. But
Bastida was making no attempt to ride him out because he didn't have to.
Yeah, he was allowing those escapes and then just getting back into business.
Right.
That's what I saw of him.
Yep. And coming up here on Sunday, home duel against UNI. This is the first time that UNI has come to Ames for a duel. For a duel against Iowa State anyway. Since 2021, I guess UNI was here earlier this year to wrestle Utah Valley because of the snowpocalypse. But yes, the projected highlight bouts for this duel here at 133 pounds, 8th ranked Evan Frost versus 24th ranked Julian Farber. I would expect Frost to win this. 141 pounds. This one will be an interesting one. I'm very curious to see who throws out which wrestlers for this. It'll either be 9th ranked Anthony Ekamendia or Zach Redding for us. And for UNI, it'll either be 6th ranked Cale Happel or Connor Thorpe. My expectation is that this ends up being Redding versus Happel, because I think regardless of who we throw out there, Happel will be able to get a win. So I don't see them wanting to damage Ekamendia's record, and so I assume they'll throw out Redding. But they could decide to go with a top 10 bout. We'll see what Coach Dresser ends up deciding to do with that. 157 pounds, 14th ranked Cody Chittum versus 15th ranked Ryder Downey, or against Caleb Olesenchak. Assuming this one is Ryder Downey wrestling for UNI, this one I think should be the highlight of the duel. Two very closely ranked wrestlers. I think Chittum is still overrated, especially the way he wrestled against Franek. I think he rightfully beat Franek, as I've mentioned here multiple times. I think that Chittum is a top 10 wrestler. I think that...
Did you say over or underrated?
Chittum is underrated. He's absolutely
I thought
underrated.
I heard overrated, but hey.
If I said overrated, I misspoke. I have underrated written in the notes. But yeah, definitely underrated. He absolutely should be top 10. He's been competing at a very high level, beating top-ranked guys. The fact that he fell from 13 to 14 after winning by major decision is just absurd. And I get it, other stuff happens with other wrestlers in the rankings on a week-in, week-out basis. But in my opinion, Chittum is a top 10 wrestler. And I think that he's proven that in competition. At 174 pounds, got 19th ranked MJ Gaitan. He shot up a few spots in the rankings after that win. And he'll be wrestling 30th ranked Jared Sima. This one should be a good one. Good opportunity for Gaitan to continue to get quality wins. And then... excuse me. 184 pounds. Should have 8th ranked Will Feldkamp or Tate Nakaboran versus the top ranked Parker Kekheisen. Now, for this one, I would be shocked to see Feldkamp take the mat for Iowa State. Again, very high likelihood that Iowa State does not win this weight class. Parker Kekheisen is a fantastic wrestler. And Feldkamp, there's no reason to just give him an L. I mean, I would expect, the way things have been going right now, I would expect Parker Kekheisen to win the 184 weight class at NCAA's next month. So.
No doubt on that.
I don't think that there's anybody that's going to take him down. So, well, he might get taken down literally, but I don't think there's anyone that's going to end up defeating him probably for the rest of the year. I think he can go through the entire year undefeated. 197 pounds. This one's going to be an interesting matchup specifically for me. This one will be now unranked Julian Broderson versus 23rd ranked Wyatt Volker. And the reason that this one's particularly interesting for me is this one's got some hometown ties for me. Me and Wyatt Volker both went to the same high school. He's a year younger than me, and we've known each other for quite a long time. So,
you gotta see him after the duel.
I doubt that.
I think you could say hi.
Well, most of the time the visiting team doesn't come out to say hi. They just get on the bus and go.
We did last year with you and I.
Yeah,
especially how engaging with David Carr is, like with literally
right. But that's just not what the general practice is, though.
Yeah.
Like don't assume it based on an exception. I mean, maybe it happens, but I wouldn't assume it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the last weight class at heavyweight, third ranked Younger Bastida will be taking the mat against either 16th ranked Tyrell Gordon or against Adam Aronson. I would think Aronson takes the mat for UNI. I don't think Gordon's going to be able to beat Bastida. Blake, softball season started.
Oh, softball's back.
Softball's back.
So back.
We got some results already for that. Ladies have played a couple games.
Yep, we've got some results from Mexico so far.
The Puerto Vallarta College Challenge. That's what it is.
Yep, and if I ever pronounce that right, I'll be so proud of myself.
Puerto Vallarta.
Puerto Vallarta?
I've been there many times, man. That's like my I've been going ever since I was a kid. So
I'm not even going to attempt to say it.
But they had a win. They had a win in their first game against Utah Valley. It was a win in 6 innings, 12-1, and they lost to number 11th ranked Duke in 5 innings, 16-3.
So they got run ruled.
They did get run ruled. But after that, they'll be back tomorrow versus the 7th ranked Washington, and then Sunday versus Long Beach State. So
you know when their first home game is? They don't have a home game for a while yet.
Yep, their first home game will be mid-March. It'll be during spring break, I believe spring break.
Okay, that makes sense.
I have the schedule pulled up here. I can actually see. Yeah,
but I know
March 15th.
March 15th.
That's Friday.
Okay.
I know it's against Houston.
Okay.
You are right about that. Yes.
Yep. And we're only 8 days away from college baseball season starting, so on the off chance that Jamie Pollard ever actually hears this, we want baseball back, please. Or at least I do. And a lot of other people do. So I guess that is we. Just give us baseball. We love baseball.
Well, unfortunately, his focus is on Cytown, and before he leaves Iowa State, he wants to renovate Hilton Coliseum.
Yeah, which Hilton Coliseum does need some repairs. Cytown, if it brings in revenue, then I guess it's a good. Or if it brings in more revenue than what it costs, then I guess it's a good project. But
I'm doubtful. I'm sorry, I'm just doubtful of Cytown.
Doubtful Cytown.
Until it is successful, it isn't. So.
Because think about this.
I want baseball.
The busiest time for Cytown will probably be football.
Right.
Other than that, from that whole
basketball, it'll get used for basketball too.
But then once basketball's done, it's like, what else is there? There's nothing in that town because guess what? Everybody leaves.
Yeah.
That's just what's rough about it, is that
well, the thing is, a lot of the money that athletics brings in from it is going to be tenant rent, and that's going to be steady income, regardless of whether people are there or not.
I get it. Yeah, that's true.
So what they want the revenue to go to is like you've probably heard, but they want to bring the revenue to Iowa State Center, like the older buildings like Stevens Auditorium, Sheeman Building, and
right,
then eventually.
Stevens is at a point now. If you look at the fascia on that building, that fascia needs replacement.
Mm-hmm.
It does really bad.
Mm-hmm. Stevens is still beautiful.
It's beautiful on the inside.
Oh yeah,
it's starting to look a little rough on the outside.
Yeah, a little bit.
Just a little bit, not a whole lot though.
It's the fascia. The concrete's doing just fine. The fascia's in rough shape.
Yeah.
Blake. High-speed winds. It's been windy outside today.
It's been windy recently, yeah. So, as Vinny mentioned last week, there was the showing at Boise State for gymnastics. We ended up losing that one. We had some faults that led to the loss. For the sibling rivalry.
Can you explain to me what a fault is in layman terms?
Like faults as in you're on the balance beam and then you fall off. That's
so big time mistake.
Yep, big time mistake that got some of our girls' scores down below 8. So that's ultimately what led to the loss, but they'll be able to bounce back from that. as Vinny also mentioned, it was also a sibling rivalry between Hannah and Emma Loim from Boise State. I did get to talking with Hannah. I talked with Hannah a few days after the meet. She mentioned that in the events that they both were in, Emma ended up scoring higher than Hannah. So I was like, oh.
All right.
So that was sibling rivalry. Cyhawk tennis is coming up. I plan on, if I can, going to Urbandale to scope that out. Swimming is also, that will be fun. Swimming is also coming back tonight to Ames for the final showing, I believe. Tonight and then tomorrow morning against Kansas.
All right. We've still got some pro stuff to talk about here. NBA just hit the trade deadline. And
oh yeah,
of the three teams we cover, I predicted that the Timberwolves and the Bucks were the least likely to have any action, and that the Bulls were going to try to do the most. Boy, was I wrong.
But Matt, I thought you knew ball.
Well, the thing is, the Bulls had the most incentive to do something. Their resources just kind of ran dry, and their front office has a tendency of not wanting to make a lot of trades. So that's just been a historical thing since their front office got some new management a couple years ago. So that's the way that's been. But the Minnesota Timberwolves here, last week, loss win. They lost versus the Magic, won versus the Rockets, lost at the Bulls in overtime. But yay, go Bulls for me. The Timberwolves in that game led by as many as 23 points in the third quarter before their defense collapsed. And then they did win at the Bucks 129-105, where their defense kicked back in gear. And I mean, you hold the Bucks to 105, you're gonna win because you're gonna score points against the Bucks. The Bucks have no defense whatsoever. So, but the trade deadline stuff, that's where some of this big news is. And this one's big for Iowa State fans, too, because we got an Iowa State alum in this trade. Shake Milton, Troy Brown Jr., and a 2030 second-round pick went to Detroit in exchange for Monte Morris. This was about the one position that Minnesota needed to pick someone up, was to get a guard to complement Anthony Edwards as a distributor and potential scorer, and Monte Morris can do that. You know, he's not the star player. That's not what they were looking for. But he's going to be that. He can be that role player for Minnesota, and this makes them a very dangerous team in this back half of the season here.
So for pro basketball in Minnesota, for Iowa State fans, so for Timberwolves, we got Monte Morris, and for the Minnesota Lynx, we got Richard Carlton. So you got Iowa State all around.
Yep. And then upcoming here in the next week for the Timberwolves, Monday they will be at the Clippers, and then Tuesday and Thursday they will have games at the Trailblazers. The Milwaukee Bucks in the last week here, they had a win at the Mavericks before losing 3 consecutive games to the Jazz, Suns, and the Timberwolves.
Bucks, what are you doing, man?
These 3 consecutive losses caused the Bucks to fall out of first place in the Central. They've gone totally cold recently since firing Adrian Griffin. Doc Rivers has not gotten them there. And the Cavaliers have now surpassed the Bucks in the Central, and the Bucks have fallen to the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. We'll see if they continue this slide or not. But it's starting to look like the coaching change is not a very wise decision in Milwaukee. As for the trade deadline, the Bucks sent Robin Lopez to the Kings in return for cash and the draft rights to Dimitrios Agravanis. We'll see how this plays out. That's a bit of a risky trade. And then they also sent Cameron Payne and 2027 second-round pick to the 76ers for Patrick Beverley. Beverley's been kind of an individual rival with Damian Lillard, and now they're on the same team. They've had some friction in the past. We'll see what ends up happening with this. But right now, The Bucks they're looking to make moves to improve their defense, and Beverly might be the guy for them. We'll see what ends up happening with that. But upcoming for the Bucks here tonight, they will play the Hornets, and then Monday they'll play the Nuggets. Tuesday they will play the Heat. Thursday they will play the Grizzlies. And then my Chicago Bulls. In the last week here, they lost versus the Kings 123-115 before 2 wins. The first was the aforementioned OT win against the Minnesota Timberwolves, 129-123, where they did come back from that 23-point deficit, led by Kobe White, who dropped 30 points in the second half on way to a 33-point scoring night for him. Very quiet in the first half, and he came alive in the second, and the team rallied around behind him, and holy smokes, that was a fun game to watch. Fun comeback for the Bulls. And shockingly, nothing happened for the Bulls at the trade deadline. They chose to retain DeMar DeRozan, Andre Drummond, and Alex Caruso. The Bulls are going to be looking to re-sign DeMar DeRozan following this season, same as they did with Nikola Vucevic last year. They didn't really explore trade options with DeRozan at all. Andre Drummond and Alex Caruso, they explored trade options a little bit, but ultimately decided not to do anything. They decided that where they were was the best place for the team, as opposed to what they could get. And Zach LaVine, they're still putting trust in Zach LaVine, is what they're saying. I just think that they weren't able to get a trade off because it's, mid-season trades are generally about what you can do that year. And Zach LaVine is out for the season, so the chances of them trading him mid-season were basically zero. So, and he's getting season-ending surgery on his foot. He'll be out 4 to 6 months. Once that happened, his trade possibilities disappeared. But upcoming here for the Bulls in the next week, tomorrow they'll be playing at the Magic, Monday at the Hawks, Wednesday at the Cavaliers, and then Thursday they will return to the United Center and play the Boston Celtics. All right, Vinny, we're at your favorite sport now. Time to talk some hockey.
Let's do it. So we'll talk about the Wild first. In the previous week, they only had one game against the Blackhawks, which we all know. I mean, we don't even have to say what it was. We already know what the final deficit was. But just for fun, we'll just say it was a win, 2-1 against the Blackhawks. There was really nothing special about this game. It was just another just game for the Hawks to lose. So
any more if you're a team playing the Blackhawks, it's just a glorified practice that goes on your record as a win.
Oh yeah. But upcoming they play tonight against the Penguins. Monday they'll be at Vegas for the Golden Knights, and Wednesday they'll be heading to Arizona for the Arizona Coyotes,
where they'll play in the college arena.
Yeah. Now we move to my team and easily the worst team in the league.
And it's not even close. They've definitely surpassed the Sharks as the worst team in the league.
Yes. 14, 35-2, 30 points, last in Central, the Chicago Blackhawks, which I'm looking at this. Their losses are almost triple what their wins are.
Yep.
That's embarrassing.
Yep. Only 30 points at this point in the season is really bad.
Yeah. You shouldn't fire your coach now, but you need to start looking at some changes. A lot.
It might be an after the season is done kind of thing.
Yeah, probably. But they only had one game. Just lost against the Wild, of course. This is actually the first of 5 games in a homestand for them. The linear broadcast was over on TNT. And this is supposed to be a national exposure for Connor Bedard.
And, that didn't happen.
No, didn't happen.
That was just a national embarrassment for the Blackhawks is what it was.
And after reading an article here, it looks like Coach Luke Richardson says that Bedard won't be back anytime soon.
No, that's been known. That's been known that he wasn't going to be back for a while.
But it was the initial recovery time was 6 to 8 weeks, and we're coming up on that 6 week. So, but I guess he just is saying, let's just keep him a little bit longer.
Yep.
But upcoming tonight, in continuing the homestand, they'll play the Rangers, Canucks, and Penguins. Tuesday against Canucks, and Thursday against the Penguins.
Yep. And then the St. Louis Blues here, in the previous week with the All-Star break being what it was, they had a completely empty schedule. So not a whole lot to review here for the Blues. But this coming week here, they'll be busy. Saturday at the Sabres, this one's going to be a linear broadcast over ESPN. It'll be simulcast on ESPN+. And St. Louis, actually, I realized as I was looking at their schedule here, they've got a lot of national broadcast games remaining. They've got 11 national broadcast games still remaining.
Damn.
That's more than what Anaheim had on the entire year. Anaheim had like 2 on the entire
Really?
season. Yeah, it wasn't much. But
Wow.
then again, Anaheim wasn't expected to be much. They weren't expected to draw much in the way of eyeballs. They can't even fill the duck pond right now. So, but yeah, they still have 11 nationally broadcast games remaining. 7 are controlled by ESPN. They're going to be the ones that are done on ESPN or the ABC with the ESPN Plus simulcast or the Hulu and ESPN Plus simulcast. And then St. Louis will also have 4 more games yet on TNT. So there's going to be a lot of chances yet to watch the Blues if that's your team and you don't have Bally Sports Midwest. And then also on top of that game at the Sabres, the Blues will have a game Sunday at the Canadiens, Tuesday at the Maple Leafs, and then they'll return to the Enterprise Center on Thursday to play the Oilers. We got more action in the MLB offseason here. Right-handed pitcher Daniel Duarte was claimed by the Twins off waivers from the Rangers. The Rangers had initially acquired him in a trade with Cincinnati, but last year Duarte, 3.69 ERA, 2.11 opponent batting average, and Ryan Jensen was DFA'd to make room on the 40-man roster for the Twins. They also signed first baseman Carlos Santana to a 1-year, $5.25 million deal. This adds first base depth with Alex Kirilloff and Jose Miranda, both of whom were a little bit injury prone last year, especially Miranda. But Kirilloff functions more as a utility player anyway. He gets usage in the outfield as well. So it'll be good to have another big bat because Carlos Santana can hit. And they also did a little bit more depth beyond that with their bullpen here. They added right-hand pitcher Jay Jackson to a 1-year, $1.3 million deal with a $3 million club option in 2025. And then they added right-hand pitcher Zach Weiss. They claimed him off of waivers from the Red Sox. And last year he played in 12 games in relief between the Angels and the Red Sox, and he had a 3.21 ERA last year. The White Sox, for their offseason activities, they took a little bit different path than most teams in this last week, where not only did they make some personnel changes, they released their renderings of the potential new stadium at the 78 that they've been floating the idea around of. Now, again, none of this is actually concrete set in stone. It's just, concept art, basically. But they look like they're wanting to basically create a separate Wrigleyville on the south side. And from these renderings, it looks beautiful. I would love to see it. So, and the ballpark itself would be gorgeous. It would be a palace for them. But they did make some regular, off-season type activities too with the personnel changes. They dealt right-handed pitcher Gregory Santos to the Mariners, and in return, they got a younger right-handed pitcher in Prelander Baroa. They also got outfielder Zach DeLoach and the 69th pick in the 2024 MLB draft. This is actually going to give the Mariners a nasty bullpen with Santos and then Andres Munoz and Matt Brash. I would not want to be... If you're not going to get a lead early against Seattle, good luck. You're going to have a tough time coming back late against Seattle this year. AL West teams beware. And then the White Sox also dealt Christian Mena to the D-backs. outfielder Dominic Fletcher will be coming to Chicago in return. Blake, we got a little bit of action with the Milwaukee Brewers. They signed right-hand pitcher Jacob Eunice. 1 year, $7 million. 1 year, $7 million for Jacob Eunice. And it's pending a physical. But and he's more of a reliever than a starter. But it wouldn't shock me if the Brewers try to move him back to being a starter. He started a couple games. He started a little bit in San Francisco with the Giants. But I think the idea is that he's going to be a depth add since the Brewers just dealt Corbin Burns to the Orioles last week. So that's the news in Milwaukee.
What we got for Cubs?
Yes, for the more popular team in Chicago.
More popular team.
They are more popular. They're a much bigger brand than the White Sox. But relief pitcher Michael Rucker was dealt to the Phillies in return for cash. And then for the Cardinals, right-handed pitcher Kenyon Middleton was signed to a $6 million 1-year deal. He's their 10th pitching addition in this offseason. So they've got a very crowded bullpen right now. Someone's probably getting waived before too long. And Middleton's also got a 2025 club option for $6 million, and then there's a $1 million buyout on that. So he's going to be paid $5 million in 2024 here, but his contract guarantees $6 million. That's all we got, though, for the show today. Follow the Cornfield Sports Pod on Twitter at CSportsPod. Blake, where can they find you at?
You can find me at BlakeAttack1846. Where can they find Vinny?
You guys can find me at VinaciousD23. Think of Tenacious D, but just replace 10 with Vin at 23.
And, of course, you can find me at the Menson Minute. Tap the follow button on Spotify, the plus button on Apple. Subscribe to us on YouTube and on Rumble.
This is Blake Peterson.
I'm Matt Menson.
And I'm Vinny Cataldo.
And this has been the Cornfield Sports Pod.